Welcome to the Cigar Rebel community, where indulgence meets authenticity. This is more than a podcast. It's a gathering place for those who savor life's luxuries with unapologetic passion. Here we celebrate the fine art of living through rich flavors, bold spirits, exquisite cigars, and unforgettable experiences.
Welcome, Cigar Rebels, to the podcast. I'm Mel.
And I'm Kevin. We're coming to you tonight live with a discussion about the story of the Elevated Humidor.
Yes, so tonight is a special one because Kevin and I are going to be in the hot seat.
Absolutely. So we're going to do things a little bit differently tonight. We've been getting questions over the last few weeks about the Elevated Humidor, as we've mentioned a few different times on the podcast. And so tonight we decided to invite a special guest to ask us the questions so we can provide some answers.
Yeah, so our special guest tonight is Tony. So thank you so much for being with us today, Tony.
Thank you guys for the invite. I'm super excited. It's always fun to hang out with you guys. And now to do it here on the podcast, even better.
And
it's a treat.
I would say it seems appropriate that Tony would be talking to us about our brand for the first time, because if you've been following along, the very first podcast we ever did was here at Tony's.
Yep, absolutely. We're sitting at Casa de Tony. And I was going to say your last name, but I'm not sure I should. So, but we're here at his house, beautiful space. You can see behind us. It's a beautiful evening here in Texas. And so we're going to jump into the topic. Before we do, Mel, why don't you let us know what we're smoking tonight?
Yes, so tonight we are smoking one of the newest releases from the Elevated Humidor, and that is the Invalid Duarte. And that has a Sumatran wrapper and Sumatran binder, and then Dominican fillers. So I'm excited to take some cold draws on this quick. And
yeah, absolutely. So on the cold draw, I get a little bit of a saltiness, very, very light, and a little bit of kind of that brown bread that you would get at some restaurants.
Okay, I could see that. Get a little bit
Anything else
of
from anybody?
Yeah, I would say you and I have smoked this one, so we have a little bit of an idea. But Tony, I don't think has ever smoked it. So
I'm excied to try it.
Awesome.
Absolutely. So adjust the sound a little bit here for you guys. Sorry. But yeah, so we're excited to get into this. So we're going to go ahead and get this lit. Our lighting is brought to you guys by Big Sky Cigars.
Back in 1905, under Montana skies, 100 satin factories rolled smoke for a wise. Reminders of ranchers, life one and grin. Now Big Sky Cigars is bringing that spirit back in.
Yellowstone River to the bold bighorn flow. Madison River reflects what we know. And leave from Nicaragua, San Andres to the Ecuador roller.
And every box soul helps our veterans men. With warriors and quiet waters, we lend a friend's hand. It's heritage burning in every draw. Big Sky Cigars, Montana's pride and law. Big Sky Cigar, where heritage flows with every draw. Find your rare red Big Sky Cigar to pop.
Ask your local tobacconist about Big Sky Cigars today. If they do not carry them, shops can reach out to Brad Frazier to set up new accounts.
Welcome back, guys. A special thanks to Big Sky Cigars. We appreciate the sponsorship. I know that's normally Mel's line, but I wasn't sure she was going to jump in or not.
Yeah.
She can't see the screen tonight. We have a little bit different setup, so she can't see the screen. So I wasn't sure if she realized it was go time.
Yeah. I was looking, just about to glance, and you beat me to it. So before we get too much into our topic tonight, we can talk. We've lit our cigar, had maybe one or two draws on it. How are you guys enjoying it? What kind of flavor notes are you getting off of it? Feel free to say what you want to say.
Yeah, it's pretty early on for me. There's a little bit of that saltiness still there, a little bit more of that brown bread still kind of sits there. But again, maybe 4 or 5 draws in.
Mm-hmm. That's real light for me as well. But I do enjoy the wrapper on it. We didn't talk about the wrapper at all during the cold draw. It's just really... It's a good Sumatra wrapper on here. It's very pretty.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's earthy. I get the saltiness. Yeah. Very, very smooth. It's not spicy, peppery, but it has almost like a spice. Trying to pinpoint it.
Like a baking spice, maybe, or sometimes I'll pick up like when you smell or get a whiff of like baking soda or unsweetened cocoa. Sometimes will give me a little bit more, not unsweetened cocoa in this, but just sometimes you get that aroma of it, and it kind of leads into that aftertaste.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or finish.
For sure. So, Tony, what are we pairing with this tonight? We've kind of we started out with bourbon a lot, and then we've kind of moved away from bourbon a little bit and had some different coffees. But being here at Tony's house and being that the first episode, we talked about barrel picks and different things, he brought a bourbon for us to share tonight.
So this is a Blue Note. This is a special release that they do every year where they finish it in, I'm not going to go through it. It's cognac, Armagnac, sherry,
Yeah.
I mean, the works. This distillery is based in Memphis. However, they do source their bourbon from Kentucky. And they'll get it from Kentucky, move it over to their rick house in Memphis, and then they have like a microclimate that they claim does very well with the aging process with the barrel. And so it's a great distillery. They put out some good stuff, and this one is a little extra special because it's a yearly release with they call their cask finish. Just had when you first try it, it's going to take about, I would say, 2 to 3 sips before you can actually start finding some notes, because it's all over the place. There's so much going on, but it's delicious.
Well, the nose on this is great. I'm really picking up a lot from that.
Yeah, I took a sip already while you guys were talking. I was going to wait until we were all going to sip together, but honestly, it smelled so good I had to take a sip. It's very good.
Yeah. No, it's been great. The nose is excellent.
Yeah.
It gets better.
Yeah, I'm
one of those
excited.
bourbons, the more you drink it, you start finding the different layers. There's so much going on. So.
Awesome. So I will say tonight I'm probably a little bit more nervous than other podcast nights because normally Kevin and I are asking the questions, not answering them. But I'm excited for Tony to be here and help us talk about the Elevated Humidor.
Perfect. So they're saying they can't hear Tony.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to turn him up a little bit. Thanks for that feedback. So Tony, just as we're trying here, why don't you just tell us what we're drinking tonight? Just the Blue Note overall.
Blue Note. So the bourbon we're drinking it's Blue Note. The distillery is based in Memphis, Tennessee. They do source I've already shown it. They source their juice in Kentucky. Then they bring it over to the rick house in Memphis, and they claim to have like a microclimate aging process there that seems to work really well. So usually everything I get from them, I enjoy. This one is a special release. It's a cask finish that they do once a year. It's finished in Armagnac, cognac, sherry, oak, you name it. It's all over the place. So absolutely. A lot of flavors there.
Perfect.
Awesome.
So just to our audience who's watching live tonight, if you're following us on the podcast or watching the replay, we apologize. Just trying to deal with some technical difficulties quickly. How's Tony sounding now, guys, in the chat? All right. No one's responding.
Yeah, no news.
I'm going to take no news as good news, and we're going to press forward here and move forward.
I hope I didn't disconnect something.
No. So it's still a little soft. So I'm going to try and we're going to do something really crazy here real quick. And Tony, we're going to swap microphones. Go ahead and take that one.
All right, thank you.
All right, so talking on that, Tony, let's try it real quick.
All right, how is that? Is that any better? Can you guys hear me a little bit clearer?
Yeah, sorry. Normally we don't have any problems with the mics. It's got a good setup. Can everybody? I wonder if it's this mic, because I'm not registering as well as I was. So, all right, Tony, ask him if you can hear him again.
Hey guys, can you hear me okay this time? Third time's a charm, I hope.
Yep, saying third time's a charm is working well. And you guys can still hear me, right?
I think so. I mean, hopefully.
All right, perfect.
Yeah.
All right.
Who knows? We're gonna rock and roll from here. All right. So Tony, what's the first question? Now that we want to jump into the topic tonight, I know. So thankful that you're here.
Well, yeah, and thank you guys again for inviting me. I'm super excited to be here. It's this is super fun. I have to admit. Typically, I'm on the other side listening. Yeah. So to be here and asking the questions, I'm stoked. I just hope you're ready.
Awesome. Well, I think we're ready. We're going to try and answer the best of our ability. Like Mel said, a little nervous, but excited to jump in.
Well, don't worry. I'll be gentle. I promise. So yeah, let's start from the beginning. Let's go back and tell me why you guys felt the need to start the Elevated Humidor. Where did it all begin?
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, for those listening, thank you so much for bearing with us for that 3 to 5 minutes. I think we got everything figured out. But going back to the beginning of the Elevated Humidor, I started smoking cigars and absolutely fell in love with tobacco and the relaxation. And it really began to create this opportunity to slow down and stop, right? And so it's through that, I don't do very many things halfway. So I just kind of went all in. And as I learned about the industry, I learned about tobacco, the growing regions, and all these different things, I totally fell in love with the industry as a whole. And it really wasn't that long into my cigar journey that a couple cigar shops started reaching out and asking me about new cigars that were coming in with the tobacco they didn't know a lot about. So they were asking me questions. And then about 5 months in, a pretty large manufacturer, not one of the big guys, but a pretty big group, started reaching out to Mel and I and asking for questions around regulation and like, hey, do you think this tobacco would go with that tobacco? And it just created this passion that, hey, we should do something in the cigar industry. And that kind of really kicked off the process.
Yeah, that definitely kicked it off for us. And then I would say, adding on to that, we felt like there were a lot of ways we could help cigar shops. And we noticed we had people asking us all the time about events, and lots of people wanted cigar focused events, and there weren't a lot of those going on in our area, but even in Texas. I mean, we've traveled all over the state, all over the United States to do events. And so we actually started Elevated Humidor as a event company.
Yeah, and so as a part of that event company and those manufacturers reaching out with problems and questions, we really began to start working around how do we make this better? What do we do? How do we help them overcome regulations? How do we help them overcome tobacco shortages? And as we were doing that, one of the manufacturers actually told us one day, are like, you know a lot about this. Like, y'all really helped us. Y'all should start your own line.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the first time we were told. And then a shop within a month of that was like, why don't y'all have a cigar brand?
Yeah.
So that was kind of the situation.
Yeah,
so,
and it helped too, like you had said, we've visited so many lounges at this point, hundreds. I've lost count. For a while I was trying to keep count, but we've been to so many shops. And I think for me and for everyone, part of visiting lounges is you get to hear all of the stories, and you get to connect with that cigar community that's being built there. And I mean, that became something for us that we loved. I mean, more than just having a cigar, talking about the ash on it. Even more than looking, when we started our line, was even more than just selling our cigars at that shop. It was connecting with so many people, which was awesome.
Yeah, it was really the history, the passion, the community, the craft of it. I found very, very alluring.
Did you ever second guess yourself as far as like you said, you do something, you go all in? I'm kind of the same way, which I try not to pick up hobbies because it gets expensive, right? And time consuming. So was there ever a doubt as far as, do we really need to go all in and start this, or was it always just
Well, I mean, thankfully, having a cigar brand, it takes very little time or money to start one. So, we lucked out in that. We chose an easy avenue for where we were going to open up another business was, in all seriousness, it was a lot of time. And I think there were times that we had discussions of, are we on the right path? Are we doing the right things?
Yeah. So I think there's been probably 2-3 critical time periods where we really questioned, are we doing the right thing? And one of those we're getting into, I think, later with one of the questions I think we'll kind of get into, but we launched as a part of the process into a color series that just was not received well at all. No one was interested in the Elevated Humidor blue, the Elevated Humidor gray, the Elevated Humidor maroon. And we were told by several shops, including the one that suggested we start a cigar line, no one's going to buy a cigar that's just named the color. Now, as we mentioned last week, and we'll talk about, but you fast forward to today, West Tampa, white, black, and red. McAuliffe, the color series, right? Maybe we're ahead of the time, or who knows, but we didn't have the reputation those brands had to bring that to the table. And that was a big kick in the teeth, right? Mm-hmm. Like, we were really looking at, we wanted to elevate what was happening in cigar shops and connect with those people and not just talk about cigars, but what they represented, the gatherings, the rituals, the craft, all of those kinds of things. And that was one of those things that's like, man, if we're not even going to be able to sell our cigars in a shop, how are we helping? Do we just go back to being the event company? Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So during all of that, I kind of had talked to Kevin and I was like, okay, we've got our line that we're kind of starting. We want it to be more of an elevated cigar without the luxury price. That's kind of one of our missions for the Elevated Humidor. But I talked about, I want to roll cigars because I want us to be able to have control over every blend. I want us to really have a hand in that. Because I feel like for us, that was something that was very important to our brand, to go hand in hand. It doesn't have to be for everyone, but for me, I was like, all right, if we can figure out how to do that, let's do it. Because I think that would help me a lot, just to be able to know, like, I'm putting myself into these blends.
Yeah, and so as we started the blending process, we kind of skipped a step. Before we came out with the blend, we really went to the factory and learned to blend and learned to roll cigars. And that was the thing. Mel really wanted to do that. And so we took the time and did that. And then we spent several months rolling cigars till we could get that process down. And then we really went through the process so we could learn the blend. But we needed to roll first so that we could play with blends. And so we started with one simple blend and kind of went from there. And that was a real learning experience. And so tell us about the time at the factory. I'm going to grab this.
Yeah. So, for me, the time at the factory, I'll be honest, before we had our very first day, I was pretty nervous because I didn't know what to expect. Like, for one, am I going to be any good at it, rolling cigars? Because I had looked up you see what all takes that goes into when you are rolling a cigar from start to finish. And I was like, am I going to even be able to retain all this? Like, how's this going to go down? And honestly, from the first day, we had a great teacher, and it was an amazing experience. We were pretty much rolling cigars from, I think, 8 to 5 or 8 to 6. And we were really able to get a lot of great feedback while we were there. And also, when we left, we were told we are some of the fastest learners they have ever had. And we were able to create more cigars in our time there than anyone they had ever taught prior. So that was a good confidence, a good confidence booster to me. Not that there weren't some bad cigars that I made, for sure, in that learning time and in that learning process, but
absolutely. And that process gave us the skill set to begin blending, because now we knew ratios. When you change Vitolas from Coronas to Robustos to Toros, to be able to begin to play back and forth with those. And that's really when the blending became a part of the process. And really, it changed everything.
And did you guys have an idea of the type of tobacco you were going to use the first time you started, or was it just kind of happened organically?
Yeah, I think I could kind of play off that a little bit. we really knew that we wanted to have a predominantly Dominican forward core line to begin with. I really love Dominican tobacco and wasn't the biggest fan of several of the Nicaraguan tobaccos. That's changed over time as my palate's developed, but also as we've been able to procure or buy better Nicaraguan tobacco. That changed. It's kind of like buying a $20 bottle of bourbon and an $80 bottle of bourbon, right? It's just not that there's not good $20 bottles out there, but they're few and far between.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? But with Dominican tobacco, I love the flavor. Be able to do that. So we really began with that process. And it was really, how do you learn? What do you do? And then how do we blend those? So one of the things that I wanted us to talk on briefly just about the factory, because this is a big part of the learning process, okay? So Rolando's who we worked with and taught us, and he was there, and as we're walking through, he would walk through with a ruler, and he'd slap your knuckles if you were rolling wrong or you weren't twisting. And for me, it was stretch. It was always slap my knuckles and stretch. And it wasn't like it was hard, right? It was just one of those things. And then what we realized is, and I can't remember which one it is, Mel, if either you were better at wrapping and I was better at bunching, or the other way around.
So at the start, I was better at bunching and you were better at wrapping. I remember those first 2 days, the bunching I had down. And he said that usually people struggle with the bunching, not with the wrapping. For me, I was sometimes so confused on the wrapping aspect of it. And part of that could be too, I think, a little bit because I'm left-handed. And so even sometimes in Kevin and I's techniques, they're a little different because I'm left-handed and he's right-handed. So we do things and it looks kind of opposite because you're using your dominant hand. Right. But yeah, I would say that was funny. He'd walk around all the time and he'd look at, if we were wrapping at first, he'd be like, man, what's happening here? He'd be walking around with the ruler that, that's wrong. And then I got it eventually. Eventually I did. And it was smooth sailing after that. But yeah, the bunching was where I just took off.
Yeah. So not to steer away, but back to the tobacco. How about you, Mel? I know, did you have a thought process on which tobacco you wanted? I know when you did the Ladybug, you definitely had a focus and a feel.
Yeah. I mean, I really thought, just echoing what you were saying, I thought we would be leaning into more Dominican in the beginning. And I knew eventually we would get some other tobaccos, which we have. We've got Nicaraguan and stuff now. But in the beginning, Dominican, I think because we both enjoyed, that was kind of what we both started smoking on, was Dominican tobacco. And so that was kind of where we looked at.
Sorry, it's losing you when you look at me.
Oh. But that was what we looked at. Sorry, I would have moved it for you.
No, trying to help.
Yep.
All right. So let's turn the attention to the craft, because, I hear you guys talk about the Elevated Humidor being a craft cigar brand. Can you tell us more about the craft?
Yeah. So do you want to talk about that a little bit?
You start and I'll fill in. Oh, man. Perfect. Lost my ash.
All right. So we really took the idea of craft is, in the cigar industry, there's all this terms that are thrown out there, one of them being boutique. So when we began to look at the boutique, and again, working with a couple of manufacturers we're working with early on, is that so many of the boutique cigars out there in the industry are really owned by the Big 7, the Big 10, and they're just lines of theirs that doesn't fall underneath that larger brand. Right. And then the PCA, which is the Premium Cigar Association, keeps changing the definition of boutique. And so as we began to launch our brand 5 years ago, one of the very first things we said is we wanted to be a craft cigar company. And the reason for that is we take this approach, and there's different opinions. There's a group out there trying to grow a craft term, and they're talking about what does that mean or not mean. But for us, this is what it meant for us from the very beginning. When you look at the craft beer industry, it is very different than the smaller breweries that are owned by the bigger guys. They're going out, they're picking the hops, they're working the hops, they're doing the fermentation themselves, then they're making the beer. So we wanted to be a cigar company that we did the blends, we did our own blending, we did our own test samples and rolls, Then the factory did test samples and rolls. We wanted to get involved and make sure that we were buying and choosing the tobacco, not just going, hey, send me tobacco. We wanted to work that tobacco, choose those blends, and then be involved in the factory. And so for us, the craft definition means that we're involved from the farming all the way to the point of when you're unwrapping it and lighting it. Okay. We've been involved from selecting the tobacco, how it's going to get fermented, how it's going to get aged, how it's going to get blended, how the cigar is going to get aged, how it's going to get packaged, and how it's going to get delivered.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that 100%. Building a brand, it's not glamorous. It's a lot of late nights. It's a lot of sometimes second guessing yourself. Even with doing the color series, like that's a great example. We thought it's going to be great. It's going to be so easy. And then we came out of that feeling kind of like, oh man, like this is not going to be, back to the drawing board, we've redone our logo once just to tie in back with our vision of the flavors outperforming the strength of the cigar. And that's something that we've kept from the very beginning, is that we've always known that's what we want our cigars to do, is the flavor is outperforming the strength, and it's a luxury cigar without the luxury price. So those have always been two of our things. But it's been a crazy, I think you look at where we're at now and people are like, oh man, it's so great you guys are here. But I mean, even still, it's long days. It's making sacrifices and making sure you're doing all the right things.
Part of that craft piece is it's long days, lots of money, and keeping a lot of relationships in place.
Well, I mean, you guys put out some great cigars, so thank you. And Mel, you mentioned vision. You guys had the vision for this to be a craft, cigar company. Tell us, how do you go from the idea to the actual brand?
Yeah, so fairly clumsily, right? I mean, there was some tripping over ourselves. I would be lying if I said we didn't fall backwards into a couple of good ideas. But yeah, it was just clumsily.
Yeah, I would say there's that. I think also, like Kevin and I talked about, relationships are very important to us. And I think in the beginning too, it's a lot of being okay with putting your cigars out there and getting both positive and negative feedback. Because any feedback we talk about is good feedback, even if it's someone saying that, oh, I wish it was this, or I wish it was better, or I wish the band would,
right,
look different or whatever. That was all stuff that we got a lot of that feedback back very early on that we took and we really listened to. And of course, we listen to the great things. It's always awesome to listen to the great things. Easy to listen to the great things.
Yeah, and so some of that was, what do we stand for? And who's our target customer? We're very important. I think we also had the conversation on, does our logo fit us?
Yeah.
This is something we still have conversations about. We made a significant change to boxes in the last 5 days. That continually comes back to, does what we're delivering match the name, the Elevated Humidor? And some people have asked, well, the Elevated Humidor, are you saying you're better than all these other lines? And the answer is no. But our original thought was, how do we help these cigar shops through the event side elevate their brand? So we kept that, and we actually did a little bit of a focus group, and everybody's like, no, we really think the Elevated Humidor is a great name.
Yeah.
Primarily from the fact that we're blending cigars that are in the right price range, and we're not trying to get rich or wealthy or pay off our investment with the first shipment. There's a lot of these cigars companies that launch with a $16 to $20 cigar as their first cigar. Our first cigar launched at $8.05. And for a brand new cigar company to do cigar, tobacco, rolling, packaging, and get it out the door for $8.05, and again, this was 5 years ago when a $10 stick was still a good stick. $8.05 we came in, and one of our negative feedbacks was we were priced too low. They're like, every other new boutique brand I'm bringing in here is 12 to 14, and you're 8. So one shop actually increased the price by $2.50 and sold out the next week.
Wow. Yeah. And it's so funny when you think about the audience and who is the customer and, you know, the consumer of the cigar, that they were like, that's too cheap, it's probably not very good, so you raise the price up a little bit, and they're like, oh, that's probably great. Like, it's interesting. We thought that was very interesting feedback, for sure.
But all of those ideas around what's our logo, what do we stand for, what's the brand, all of that happened before we ever produced our first cigar. Right? So, I mean, we're talking months of regulation and licensing and procuring tobacco, and then getting the brand organized, the look, the feel. All of that was before we ever produced a single cigar.
So can you tell us a little bit more about the initial cigars that you guys
Yeah, so our very first cigar, it was the 9th blend that we had tried, and it was the first one I think both of us looked at and we were like, all right, we can do this. This one is a great 9th first try, you know.
Right. 9th first try.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So that cigar actually became filler number 9, which was our very first cigar.
Which was a great cigar, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so filler number 9, it's a cigar that we've actually sunset as of this point. And so we have enough tobacco to produce a few thousand more. So we'll probably come out with a couple of annual releases or anniversary releases of filler number 9 in the future. But that first cigar, filler number 9, was great. And then we kind of really began to transition that, right? Mm-hmm. And what is that going to look like? Right. So now we have a cigar, right? And then what happened, Mel?
Yeah, so over the next few weeks, we rounded out our original initial core line. The second cigar was a Cameroon Maduro with a sweetened tip. And you probably know that one. We called it the Dark Sin, or just Dark Sin, not the Dark Sin, but Dark Sin. And then we also released a Cinestick, which is a sweetened wrapper with cinnamon kind of infused in the wrapping process to give it a really strong kind of spicy cinnamon to it. And then we also had the Oscuro and the Sloth, and that was our original core line.
Yeah, and so in that core line, really those names didn't exist. It was that color series.
Yes.
Those names for them all actually came when the color series was rejected.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Yes, and so we had, like Oscuro was blue, and it still is to this day, even though we have updated our band on it. It is blue and says Oscuro on it. Real simple. But as Kevin had mentioned, we couldn't get anyone to pick us up with just the colors. It was just, we were too much ahead of our time for that one. And that was probably, that was right when we started doing blends. So
absolutely.
Years and years ago, but
yeah, and honestly, the decision to do a color series probably set us back 18 to 24 months, if not more.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you explain that to the folks?
Yes.
I mean, going back to the drawing board, thinking about, okay, if we're not going to do a color series, we've got to name all of these with what we would want them. Like our color series was going to be, okay, they're going to want blue, they're going to want maroon. So now we're naming them. We want them to be able to be like, all right, I want Oscuro, I want Dark Sin. Like, we wanted to try and create bands and names that were memorable and easy for people to be able to come in, and if they had it once, they could be like, okay, I remember, or they could describe it and the tobacconist would know. Because how common is it that you smoke a cigar you love and you can't remember what it's called, but you remember details of what the band is. So sometimes those details can encompass multiple different cigar companies because there are similarities throughout, like if you say it's a blue and green label, there could be 10 cigars that have a blue and green label in that humidor. But trying to put on there, like for Dark Sin, there's a dragon on it. So you can go in and be like, it's got a dragon on it, stuff. So that's kind of, we had to think through all of that. Like, what's going to make these memorable? What's going to make them stick out? And what's going to make it easy? Because as a new cigar company, you want that recognition. You want to have that brand recognition for your consumers.
Right. And we really wanted them to remember the brand and then maybe a color, right? And so what does that look like? But on a lot of our bands early on, the Elevated Humidor was on the side or back because the name of the cigar was on the front. Versus, so there was some challenges there. But the other thing really that became an issue is we almost had to reintroduce ourselves to these cigar shops and to consumers. We had a small following, but not a large following. And so we really had to reintroduce the overall brand. And while it's the same cigar, they'd smoked it and loved it. They just wouldn't sell it as a blue. Now it's a Scuro, and it's like, well, can you bring them in and can we smoke them together? Can we? It's like nothing changed but the ring. We in our podcast last week, if you guys checked in, if you haven't, go back and listen to Art of Cigar Packaging from last week, which is the September 22nd episode, it's the most memorable inch in the cigar industry, right? And so as you think about that, it was like only that 1 inch changed, but for some reason we went and met with a company outside of Austin, and it's like those guys had never even seen us.
Yeah.
It's like, I've never seen these. His actual comment was, I've never seen these cigars before. Like, you're right, we rebranded them, this is the deal. But yeah, that's just it was the craziest thing.
Yeah.
And then we really kind of went through 2025. We went into another rebrand, right? And so we kind of went through another rebrand recently, learned our customers a little bit more, learned kind of what we were trying to create, and really introducing some new cigar blends that we've been releasing. And again, wanting to take that step a little bit further into the elevated feel with new boxes, new bands, brighter colors that really match the quality of cigars we're blending.
Yeah, because I would say we've grown even in our rolling and our blending, and a lot of our new blends, we're better blenders now than we were when we started, because we spent a lot of time learning. Like, we were very intentional about learning our blend, like learning what we wanted to blend, and so it's just been able to get, I feel like it's been able to get better and better, really.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. And your tagline is blending cigars where flavor outperforms strength. Can you guys tell us a little bit more about that? What do you mean by that?
So for us both, I would say we don't want to smoke a cigar that is strong just for the sake of being strong. I really enjoy, like, I will smoke from a medium to a full-bodied cigar is generally kind of where I'll still smoke a mild cigar, but medium to full body is going to be my normal day-to-day when I'm reaching for a cigar. But the flavor has to be there. If it's just strong to be strong, then most likely I'll smoke it once, but I'm going to choose something that has a lot of great flavors to me, that's in that wheelhouse.
Yeah, and so we really wanted a cigar, Tony, that anything we blended, we wanted the flavor intensity and the aroma to be the star. The strength could be from mild into a full-bodied cigar. However, the flavor notes needed to be there. And that honestly is kind of what drove our rebranding. If you open our new boxes, when you open them up, it's bright blue with kind of it's called sand is the color of the logo. And it says blending cigars where flavor outperforms strength, the Elevated Humidor. And it really is that focus. And what we want to do is we want to highlight the vision of flavor intensity, the craft of blending cigars, and the flavor being there. Not only 2 of our cigars in our line are infused, but all of them, we believe, have good flavor notes that stand out, regardless if you're a novice or an enthusiast.
Yeah. And I'd say we kept circling back really to those 3 words, the first one being the tobacco, because everything starts there. Everything starts with the tobacco. And then there's the craft, because that's what we do. And what makers do is that the craft is intentional. And then the third is the vision, because it's not just about now, but it's about where we're headed, where we're going to be in the next 5 years, where we're going to be in the next 10 years. And that's been kind of our driving factors. I mean,
absolutely.
So let's fast forward to today. What is the Elevated Humidor right now? the brand today, it seems like we're talking about it. To me, it seems like you guys have been in it for like 20 years, but it hasn't, but it has evolved a lot. So, today, what is it? What is it to you guys?
Sometimes I feel like we've been doing it for 20 years.
Yeah.
Like,
I've definitely aged 20 years.
Well, at its core, it's about being a craft cigar company that is producing premium cigars without that luxury price, kind of like I had mentioned earlier. And then we're not just putting out cigars. We're producing cigars that any smoker, from a novice to a longtime enthusiast, can find something in our line that they'll enjoy. And I feel like we've been really successful in that mission, that part that we wanted to deliver.
Absolutely. The other thing about our brand today, Tony, is we're wanting to cultivate a community of cigar smokers that enjoy our brand. We want to cultivate a brand that can be in somebody's rotation, that they can smoke our cigars regularly. There's enough of them. We have enough line that they're not just smoking. We're not just offering one or two, but they can have different palettes depending on what they ate, what they're doing, who they're hanging out with, and really be able to create a line that's also priced at a point that if I'm going to hang out with somebody, I can pick two up and we can enjoy life's luxuries together.
Yeah. And I think going back to a huge important part is that tobacco, growing exceptional tobacco, rolling cigars that burn and draw consistently so that they can be enjoyed as a connector and not instead of the topic. Because, if you've got bad construction, if everyone around you is smoking the same cigar and the construction is not good, you're talking about that. Like, you're talking about that as a group.
So, Tony, I know you have some other questions for us, but to our audience tonight, there's a few of you guys listening tonight. Love seeing a little bit of the chat so far. If you guys have questions for us, throw them in the chat. We'll get to those here in a few minutes. But just wanted to throw it out there. We'd love to have any questions that you guys might have so we can respond to those questions. Maybe we'll cover them, or we'll come back and make sure we cover them here in a few minutes after the break. But Tony, what's next?
Well, you guys tell me a little bit more about partnering you guys had just along the way.
Yeah, so we've been fortunate to have some great relationships and connections with people. We've done some events for Hurrahs and Caesar's Palace, and we've had the opportunity to do some golf tournaments and a towing company out of Illinois that we've gotten to do, and also a lot of weddings. A lot of people have loved having our cigars at their wedding, or we've done a few where we've come and rolled there for them, and those have been great.
Yeah, and so we've really had some great partners along the way on the distribution side. We've had a couple of distilleries we've done a house blend for that did really well. The first place we ever really sold was one of those things that created a blend for them until they sold. They sold recently, and so it was a little sad because it was the first place that ever sold our cigars. But it was great for them to be able to retire. And so we've had those things we've done with those golf tournaments, Caesar's Entertainment. There's been different places we've been able to really partner around how do we elevate their events. We've done bank events. We've done some of those that really helped us introduce our cigars to a wider audience. But really, the cigar industry is all about partnerships. It's a relationship business, like most industries. However, this industry is really a pretty small world, and we want to work with those partners that are interested in working with us, that allow us to become a partner to serve their customers and to help us reach their consumers. And then on the tobacco and rolling side, we wanted good partners. Our first factory that we rolled cigars with, we found out about 18 to 2 months in, maybe a little longer than that another cigar brand was selling our blends that he was selling to them. And so we don't blend any cigars with them anymore. We made a swift cutoff, and that's when we said, okay, we absolutely have to procure our own factory and have a larger stake. And so we got a very small stake in a factory in Dominican for a couple of years, and then earlier this year was able to go to a factory and have some really great ownership and production process, but we still have partners in those ventures. People who live there, who run the factory every day, who live there and run the farm every day, and we're reliant on them being good communicators, us being on the same page, us sitting down and talking and making sure that we have a shared vision to drive the process forward.
Yeah. And I'd say it's also about the community. You know, we don't want to just put cigars out there. We just, you know, it's not our goal to just have a cigar line out there, like Kevin mentioned earlier, to make money or anything like that. It's about the community. It's about creating conversations, events, collaborations, and connections. I mean, so many people who maybe did not have a lot of friends that have joined the lounge or didn't have a lot of cigar buddies. Now, you know, we've been able to connect with them and they have lots of cigar friends. And not that all your friends have to be cigar friends, but it's really fun to smoke a cigar with someone who's smoking a cigar too. So
absolutely. So a lot of our people in the chat are mentioning cigars that they're smoking tonight. And so we have Alex is smoking El Tiempo Rembrandt. I can never say that word. Lou's smoking the EP Dark Noir, which is a phenomenal cigar. And there's several other questions in there we'll get to in a few minutes. But it is that idea of having good partners at every level. You got to have good partners on the industry side of tobacco and rolling. We have a great partner in Marlon Sanchez down in Nicaragua, and the ability to really procure some of the best Nicaraguan tobacco that I've tasted. Some great San Andreas that goes into our Maduro cigar and our Sumatra Royale that people love. We've really been able to partner with the guys in DR and figure out how to do that, talking with ASP Farms and be able to get tobacco from them. All of those partnerships matter, but all of those really matter so we can serve our brick and mortar partners and our consumers. Because we look at this as a partnership. They're giving their hard-earned money to smoke our cigars. It's our responsibility to give them the best experience possible. They're hand-rolled. We're going to have an issue here and there. But we truly believe consistency drives that quality, and I think we're doing pretty good at it.
I think you are.
Well, thank you.
That means anything.
Oh, it does. We've had great friends, I mean, you included, that has been, I would say, pivotal to being encouraging when we're discouraged and, you know, telling us, keep going, keep moving. I see you doing this in next year. I see you doing this in 2 years. Like, the sky's the limit. And I mean, that's been very meaningful, and it's been very helpful to us, because there's times that you're doing this, it's like, man, are we doing the right thing? Like,
so we have a handful more questions from the audience, probably a few more from Tony. But before we get to those, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to get some more questions about the Elevated Humidor.
We fell in love with cigars not because of the flavors or smoking experience or perceived status, but because it allows barriers to fall between other humans and build deeper connections. For that reason, we've been super intentional to curate a space where people can find community and enjoyment with others, and cigars just happen to be the way we're doing it. For that reason, we are thrilled to be the one and only cigar retail store and lounge in downtown Lufkin. A good story is one of the most powerful tools used to connect with another human. Sharing stories fades out differences and highlights similarities found in the details, or with the storyteller. Over the years, we have seen some of the best stories told over cigars, and thus, new friendships are made, passions shared, encouragement given, and so much more. The impact storytelling has on the human connection is why we've decided to name our store and lounge Stories. Because behind every good cigar and conversation is an even better story.
Source Elevate is a consulting firm that focuses on providing resources, insight, and experience to elevate your performances. Our team's 30-plus years of experiences in executive leadership positions provide the foundation of knowledge that we provide to our clients. Allow us to elevate your company's mission, vision, and objectives over short, mid, and long-term initiatives that drive results and source new opportunities.
As always, a thank you to our sponsors. Before we jump back into the topic, let's go ahead and look at upcoming shows.
Yeah, so next week, October 6th, we're going to fall into flavor the best cigars for cool evenings in 2025.
And after that, we're going to do October 13th is the leaf, the layers, and the lore. And this is the complex world of tobacco and the secrets of the leaf.
All right, I said in the break, which y'all couldn't hear us, that the sound issues up front created a little bit of a clunkiness. We're apparently still having that, and from the setup here tonight. So appreciate you guys. October 20th, we have a really special night. We're going to do cigar school, lighter maintenance, and humidor management. We're really excited about that. And then following up on October 27th, we're going to do limited edition cigars, a closer look at an emerging trend.
Yes.
So make sure you join and follow us along. If you haven't clicked that subscribe button yet, please feel free to go ahead and click that, or follow us on all of social media at Facebook, Instagram, or on YouTube at Cigar Rebels.
Yes, definitely. So with that, we're going to check in on our cigar.
Yeah,
so how are you guys? I'm smoking mine quick. I think I must be nervous about the topic, and so I'm smoking and chatting. I'm going through it quick, but
yeah, I'm hammered. This is normally an hour and a half cigar easily for me, and I'm 51 minutes in, a little less, and I'm smoking down, so I'm definitely hammering it. But it's treating me well. I've had a couple of relights, but I'm talking, and I've hit the table with it a few times, which is always a problem. But overall, it's been great. I'm still getting a lot of that breadiness and a lot of those things coming along. So
I'm really getting that kind of pumpernickel bread, just a darker, maybe rye bread.
Yeah. It's awesome.
It's delicious.
Is that saltiness
really
still sticking through for
still
you guys?
is.
I still get a lot. Like I have a lot of saltiness just on the roof of my mouth and the tip of my tongue from this one. So awesome.
Yeah, it's been great cigar. I'm honestly probably, because normally we do a podcast, I kind of have some notes. I know what we're doing, and I'm able to really focus in on the cigar because I know the content. I'm trying to make sure we answer well tonight, and so I'm not paying nearly as much attention to the cigar. So I apologize, but it's been an excellent cigar. One thing about this cigar that we really, really like is it is 100% made with tobacco grown on our farm. And so that's why it's called in Valle Duarte. It's all grown on our farm. Our farm is at the base of the valley at the Duarte Mountain. And so it's a very lush farm where we're able to get 2 or 3 growing seasons a year because of all the runoff from the mountain.
Okay.
And so I'm enjoying it, but I'm not paying nearly as much as I can.
Yeah.
As I should.
Yeah. All right, Tony. So what's next?
So, we've touched on the rebrand, and we've talked a little bit about some of the newer cigars. Can you guys tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so some of our newest releases, we talked about this one in Valle Duarte and LSA, which stands for Lone Star Attitude. Those are our 2 newest releases that we released earlier this month. And then back in May, June time, we released our Velvet series, which is Velvet Smooth and Velvet Spice. And those are the ones Kevin and I actually got to blend in the Dominican in March. So those have been really great. Like I said, we felt like just our blending on those was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And so really all 4 of these new ones we blended while we were there.
That's true.
In March.
Yeah.
They just came out at different times because of production schedule.
Yeah.
And so once we knew we were ready to procure a factory and a farm to call home, we really wanted to cement the brand. And so we're like, okay, it's time to go from a simple box to a more custom box. It's a little bit more elevated. We were able to produce those boxes, which took about 11 months to do. We're able to kind of really look at this new band style that we wanted to do, that it's very colorful and stands out in the humidor, and it contrasts with the box. And then we knew we wanted to sunset some of our legacy cigars. It's hard to say legacy, we're a 5-year-old company, but those original core lines to introduce, because we can't be a new cigar company that has 13 cigars to offer. Right?
Yeah.
we really needed to break it down into some core cigars. And so I actually have a graphic here to show you guys. I wasn't sure if we're going to get to this tonight or not, but this is the perfect time. So we really decided to break it down into collections. So on the screen, for those watching, for those listening, we have the Velvet series or Velvet collection, which is Velvet Smooth and Velvet Spice. They're sister cigars. They're all the same tobaccos, but each one changes the priming of where that tobacco came from. So it's got Criollo 98, it's got Pele de Oro, it's got Dominican Olor, and it's got Habano Claro. And so we're able to shift those around and where they're at in the cigar, which changes up the flavor. Then we have our core collection, our Oscuro, which is a mixture of Dominican and Nicaraguan tobacco, the Maduro, which is San Andreas with Nicaraguan tobacco, Sumatra Royale, which is Sumatra Havana. It is a leaf that's a Corojo and Sumatran hybrid grown just for us. And then it's got a Sumatra Habano, not to be confused with the wrapper, as a binder, and then Nicaraguan binders and fillers. And then we have the LSA and the Valle Duarte that Mel was just talking about. We have the Elegant collection, which is the Ladybug and Lady Jade. Then we have our Infused collection, which is Dark Sin and Cinestic. And we do have a 5-pack of Infused that also includes a vanilla, a latte, and a mint. The vanilla is a banded cigar. Latte and mint are not. And so it's just kind of a grab bag sample pack for those. And we release those about once a year, and they do really well when we release them, but it's not a regular production for us. And then we do have our, what we call our ultra value cigar, which is our Garage Force. We have it in a Toro and in a Gordo. Both come in a Connecticut or a Maduro. The Toros are a Dominican sandwich, which means they're a mixed filled cigar. It's the tobacco left over of rolling the other cigars. And then the Gordo is a standard long filled cigar. So it's 100% long filled, not shorter mixed. And those, because in order to get that Gordo size, we wanted the consistency to be good. And so that kind of really became our core collection as far as the rebrand. That someone could come in and go, hey, I want the Velvet series, I want the core collection, I want the Elegant collection. And so there's been some of those things that we've done to really rebrand that out.
Yeah.
I love hearing all that. So I do want to turn the attention over to the future. Like what's next for the Elevated Humidor? Like what's your vision, here in the near future and later future?
Yeah, so our vision is simple. It's we want to become known as a craft cigar company that can be found in brick and mortar stores across the country. Not necessarily in every shop possible, but the right amount.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to find the right production rhythm to ensure quality, consistency in every roll. And so we do have a few milestones that we want to achieve. And one of the questions in the chat was, how many cigars do you sell in a year? So last year we produced 150,000 cigars. We sold the majority of those. We had a few of those that came through. So we're a smaller production side. We're growing. 2025, we're probably going to hit closer to 200,000. And next year, I'm talking with the factory this week, we're looking if that could grow to the 250,000 range. And so we really believe that we can get to about 500,000 as we grow brick and mortar partners. Mm-hmm. And with our current team in place, without a lot more growth, be able to truly provide a consistent draw, a consistent burn and flavor profile. And we have enough tobacco to maintain that and be able to procure that.
Yeah.
It's a great plan.
Yeah. So I'd say probably be talking about, our growth and everything be to be sold in probably 50 to 75 cigar shops so that people can be introduced and they can put our cigars in the rotation. And we believe that our price points of $8.99 to $13, our cigars are approachable and smoke at a higher price point than that. That's just, we like to keep keep it reasonable, because sometimes you walk into a humidor, if it's a brand new cigar and it's $30, you might not want to take the chance.
Absolutely. TDM Cigar said slow and smooth, smooth and fast. Sounds like you guys are doing it right. Something, a new guy to model after. We appreciate that so much, Alex. And so we really are trying to take that slow growth model, making sure we're doing the right things and be able to continue to grow. But one of the exciting things is that one of our milestones, we had 3 major milestones that kind of were this longer term goal. And one of those were attained this week. And so, Mel, do you want to tell us about what that is?
Yeah, so I am excited to announce officially that sometime soon, I think maybe this week, but if not this week, soon, our cigars will be able to be purchased at Two Guys Cigar Shop in New Hampshire and online at twoguyscigars.com. So we're super excited for this next step for so many reasons. I mean, we have a great relationship with them, and it's just awesome and humbling at the same time that they wanted to pick up some of our line.
Yeah, absolutely. They've been great mentors in many ways for us and giving us feedback. And we were there for probably 2 weeks a couple of months ago. Then we're back there for the expo. And really, we were there to learn from them. And Mel was on the ash holes. And there was zero anticipation around those milestones. And so Dave asked, what's your milestones? And so we kind of told him, and he was like, it's done. Like,
yeah.
And so we do know they received our cigars today. So the cigar order was put in a couple of weeks ago. They were shipped out late last week. They have them in hand. And so it's just a matter of days that they'll be available online. We've been asked a lot by people from around the country where we can buy your cigars. And currently no one's really selling them online. The Underground Cigar Shop out of Fort Worth does sell them occasionally. When their stock is low, they move just to the brick and mortar side, but they do have them out there. But Two Guys should have them on their website. And so those of you that don't live close to a brick and mortar that sells the Elevated Humidor cigars, you will be able to go out there and grab them at twoguyscigars.com. And we ask that you do. We would love nothing else than to have a big push and see a bunch of people out there supporting the brand that's been asking. We're not asking you to go make a special trip, but if you've been asking, we would absolutely love to have you pick some of those up.
Yeah, and for the folks that don't know, I don't know who would not know what Two Guys Smoke Shop is. It is the largest cigar shop, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Largest cigar shop in the United States. Their volume is tremendous. And so many of the legends of the cigar industry that we look at today and really talk about the Perdomo. We heard it from Padron. You hear it from Steve Saka. I mean, these guys are legends in the industry. And they get up there and talk about how Two Guys Cigars and Dave impacted them so much. And he's already impacted us a ton before today.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
And so we're honored.
Yeah, 100. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we're really excited and hoping that, they'll just keep moving forward and they'll, have a great, easy time just with people getting to learn our brand, and especially in that area.
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely. So we want to talk about one other real quick thing, and then I've got some questions from the audience before we wrap up tonight. We're going a little bit long. I think we have plenty of time. So one of the things we definitely wanted to throw out there, and wasn't sure, Tony, maybe you'd get to this question or not, but I preempted. We do have our annual fall release, and we're starting to have people ask us about them.
Mm-hmm.
These are going to be available shortly at the Racketeer in Idaho. They'll be available at Story Cigars and Lounge. They'll be available at a few other shops around the country. But I'm going to shout out to those guys because they all made pre-orders. But our annual release is our pumpkin cigar. And then probably our most popular annual release in the past had been called the Dark Night. We're having to change that a little bit this year to just the night or the autumn night. And the primary reason why is Hoya de Monterey had a Dark Knight for a long time, but they sunset that brand, but they reactivated the brand earlier this year. They did not reach out to us. They did not ask us to change, but we just preemptively, when we saw that they're reactivating the trademark, we just went ahead and said, all right, we're going to take that off. So these are the bands. The Dark Knight or the Autumn Night is a triple Ligero. It's a Brazilian Metafina wrapper with a Nicaraguan Ligero binder, and then Dominican, Nicaraguan, and Honduran Ligero filler. So other than the wrapper, it's 100% Ligero. And it is absolutely a phenomenal cigar that people like. The Pumpkin has always been a lighter cigar, but there was so much success in the Night. This year, we decided to make it a little bit of a sister cigar. It is a San Andreas wrapper, Maduro, with an Indonesian Ligero binder, and then a Nicaraguan and Honduran Ligero. So it's a double Ligero instead of a triple Ligero. We have them in, they're ready, they're shipping starting in about a week, and they are smoking phenomenal.
I can't wait to try that one.
Yeah, I'm excited to release these again. Everyone just has loved them when we've released them kind of for this time. Mm-hmm. And of course you always get the question, what's going to be, when are you releasing that next cigar? What are you looking at to do now? You've got your Coraline out, you have your Velvet series, but what else are you looking at doing? And so we're talking about today, we're just going to throw it out there so everybody can start planning. In January of 26, we are going to be releasing our newest cigar called Protos. And then in Q2 of 2026, we're going to be releasing the Lady Marmalade. So there's been some talk about the Lady Marmalade for a while, and we wanted to get the blend right. We wanted to get the bands right. And so I'm excited that we'll be able to bring that to everyone starting in Q2.
Yeah, and so Protos, which will launch in January, is a Greek word. So a lot of people don't know this, but I'm a registered or known Greek scholar. I have a couple of things published for the work I've done in Greek back when I was in seminary, and then a couple of Bibles on the market today have some of the work in it that I've done in the last 10 years. And so don't do a lot of that anymore, but I really wanted to kind of lean into that. And the word Protos means the beginning of a journey. And so we're going to release that in January, and really excited about that to kind of be just an exciting part of the process and really drive that forward. Yeah. Those cigars are here. They're banded. They're ready to ship. We did not want to release them close to when we got them because we ran into that with the Velvet series. We didn't plan it. So we want to be able to, let's just say this. We've learned from our partners at McAuliffe. We have a great relationship with those guys there. And one of the biggest things they really talk to us about is when you say, I'm going to release something on this date, we want to deliver. And so we missed our delivery date with Velvet. We missed it by 4 weeks. And so because of that, I really want to be able to release and kind of launch when we say we're launching.
Yeah.
And so we have them in place, and production on Lady Marmalade starts in the next 2 weeks. So we will have them a full 2 or 3 months in our humidor here in Texas before the release.
Yeah, and Lady Marmalade is a funny story because for anyone who doesn't know, when I blended the Ladybug, it took me 18 months. And so after I got the blend right, we got it released, I was like, all right, I'm not going to necessarily think about blending anything super new by myself or working on that for a long time because I spent 18 months on that, and we were at our lounge, I think.
Longest Ash competition.
It was at a Longest Ash competition, and I was sitting there, and it just hit me of a new blend I wanted to do, and the name came to me right away, and the cigar speaks to the name, and I was like, oh man. So I don't think it's taken me quite as long as with Ladybug, but I was like, all right, we're doing it again.
Yeah, so it was actually last September
yes,
that we came up with the idea. We've gone through 14 blends, probably 30 different tobaccos. I mean, we blended 12 different cigars one day.
Lots of hours.
None of them were it. But we have it. We're excited about it. Production begins. Here's one of the most unique things about Lady Marmalade is it will have a mixture of tobaccos, Dominican and Nicaragua, which we don't do a lot of in our cigars, and so it's really good. Very citrus notes and some of those, but really looking forward to that.
So, to sum it up, a lot of wonderful stuff happening. I mean, all great stuff. A lot of cool stuff. Great cigars coming out in the next few months with the Elevated Humidor.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
So let's get to a few. We got about 5 or 6 minutes here. Let's get to a couple of the questions. One of those was, what's your favorite cigar outside of your own brand? All right, Mel, I know the answer to yours, but go ahead.
So outside of our brand, that is always such a hard question for me because we smoke such a variety for our brand, but also for our lounge. Like we've got to, on the Cigar Rebel, like we keep our palates curious. And so I smoke a variety of things. So I don't know that I have a top cigar as much as like a top 7 that rotates depending on my palate. But normally what's always in there is, that's not our brand, would be the Neanderthal by Romacraft. And I would always, when I first smoked the La Giana, the one with the navy band. The Maduro, yeah. That one for a while was in my standard rotation. I just could not get enough of that one. Trying to think of...
Blackened.
Oh, yes, the M81 Blackened, and specifically the Corona size. So there's some people who have been like, that's not the grown-up size, but for me, the flavors are perfect in that size. Just, I pick out such good flavors in there.
Yeah, so for me, I'm going to give you all a top 3 as well, just for that same reasoning. I rotate a lot, but 2 stay in that rotation, that top 5 rotation quite a bit. And the McAuliffe Color Series, and probably the black over the other colors, although green's finding its way in there now that that's released. I really love the black. It's an easy, I'm not thinking about cigar.
McAuliffe Black for me too, throw that out there.
Yeah, another one that's out there that's in my rotation quite a bit is the Gold Star, particularly in the Robusto from United Cigars. Really enjoy smoking that one. And then another one that I've not had in a while, but I'm itching to get my hands on one. They'll be back at our lounge here in a couple of weeks. I absolutely love the San Latinos Habano. I cannot get enough of that cigar. I love Habanos. AJ Fernandez does such a phenomenal cigar in that whole series. The Connecticut, the Habano, the Sumatra, and the Maduro, all are excellent, but I absolutely love that Habano. So, Tony, do you have a favorite cigar?
I was hoping you wouldn't ask, because the last time I was asked that question, I went blank. If Kevin Langston's listening, he's probably chuckling right now because he was there and he saw me. I always go to Liga 9. That's one of my top favorites. I love McAuliffe Black, and I'm really digging the McAuliffe Green. Same with, I like the Garofalo series as well.
Yeah.
But then other than that, I'm the same way. I have so many different cigars, and I go, jump around. I don't really stick to one unless I have a box of something. But
yeah.
Absolutely.
And then you start hearing other people's lists, and you're like, oh yeah, I could add that. I could add that.
All right, so the next question, what kind of events do you guys do outside the box at lounges? So I'm going to hit 3 quick ones, and Mel, you can jump in. So we do some standard, longest ash, those different things. But cigar school oriented is what we love to do. And so one of the cigar schools that we really love to do is creating parejos of a cigar. So that's just the seco, just the viso, just the binder, just the wrapper, and then the cigar. So people get to experience each of those leaves, and it gives them an appreciation of, man, these smoke really weird on their own, and some people love some of them and they hate other ones. And then you smoke the cigar and it's completely different. And I just love that process because it kind of lets the consumer be a little bit of the blending process. We did that recently, Tony, you were there. We absolutely love that event, and it's fun. The other event that's kind of around cigar school that's really fun outside of the box is what percentage does the wrapper make of the flavor? And so we take a cigar and we trim off the wrapper of the first inch, and you smoke it until you get that. So you get all asked about flavor notes as you burn through that, just the binder and filler, and then when the wrapper hits, you have them document the other notes, and then you get about halfway through the cigar, you light a different cigar and do the same thing, and then compare those at the end. People absolutely love that. They said they've never experienced either one of those when we come and do them, and it's a lot of fun. And then the other thing that we really like to do is kind of a upscale launch party where we have a drink, then we work with a cocktail, so a mixologist that helps us create a cocktail. We have 3 different cocktails that match our cigars, and we come in and we do kind of a formal night where you get a couple of cigars, you get a mixed drink, have some hors d'oeuvres, everybody dresses up, and it's just a little different than what people normally are expecting, and so that really helps kind of elevate something fun within the cigar lounge. What about you? Any others that you would throw in there, Mel?
I would say the only other one that we've done that was fun is when you take the bands off of the cigars for who you have coming to the event, and you have them smoke it blind, and they rate it, and they do the flavor notes on it. You know, they give it their own rating, and that one's usually pretty fun because not knowing the band and not knowing exactly what cigar it is, you can get people who've said like, "Oh, I hated that cigar," but you take the band off of it, and they're smoking it on a clean palate or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, I know, like it's speaking to be different now that I'm tasting it blind." So that one's always fun.
Yeah, it is. That's a great cigar. That kind of reveal is always fun. And a lot of times, even though we own a brand, we don't just use our cigars for those events. We typically find stuff that's popular in that lounge and have them do it there, because you'll have 7 or 8 guys there that's in their regular rotation and they don't get it. And then you have people that smoke it rarely and go, "I think this is." And we've had a couple of times where people nailed what the cigar was, and we've had times where people were really surprised. We had a room one night where everybody said they absolutely hated Honduran tobacco. And we actually had the Rocky Patel Grande and Grand Reserve, which is almost a Honduran Puro other than the wrapper, and they all loved it. Mm-hmm. And so it just goes to show you, getting rid of that wrapper and smoking it blind gives you a whole different experience. Last question we're going to do is, what's the strongest flavorful cigar in your line? And I'll tell you, that's changing a little quickly. So the absolute strongest cigar that we produce is the Autumn Night. By along, that triple Lajero is very strong, although it smokes very smooth. So it's kind of like 120 proof bourbon that drinks like 100 proof. It hits you because you smoke it and you're not paying attention, but it's there.
It's smooth.
The strongest cigar out of that is our Oscuro cigar. In the Robusto at the factory, the foreman was like, "It's too strong. The flavor, it's just strong for being strong." So he recommended transition it from the Robusto to the Double Perfecto, and people have absolutely loved it. It is strong. But LSA is giving it a run for its money.
Yeah.
The LSA saw, when we blended it, it was not a super strong cigar. We thought it'd be a medium, maybe a little higher. And so that was one of those that we really enjoyed, and it's definitely up there. We did a launch party with it at Nacogdoches Cigar Lounge maybe a month ago, and several people came back and talked about it being a pretty strong cigar. So Kevin Langston, he said League of 9 for Tony. And then right after that, he said, "Called it." Just as you mentioned it. So, and DJ said, "Ding, ding, ding, ding." So he absolutely knew that. So, guys, we appreciate you for tuning in tonight. We hope you enjoyed the topic. It was a little bit less informational, a little bit less formal. We had some major audio issues at the beginning. We apologize. Thanks for hanging with us. But thank you for coming along this journey with us tonight. We're so honored to have you.
Yeah, we couldn't do it. We couldn't do this without all of you. We talk about our podcast, also our line. Couldn't do it without you. And so we appreciate all of you guys coming along with us.
Thank you for the invite. This has been a treat, and I know I speak for everybody else. It's awesome just watching you guys go through this journey. It's been awesome, and can't wait to see what's next.
Tony, thank you for being here. It was an honor to have you ask us some questions and help us tell the Elevated Humidor story. Yeah. And last thing tonight, hey guys, if y'all are watching, please hit that subscribe button, follow along, let us help you learn a little bit, laugh a little bit, enjoy one of life's luxuries. And again, if you don't live close to a brick and mortar store, keep an eye out at twoguyscigars.com. Hopefully our cigars are on there by the end of the week, and you can get some of those delivered to your door.
Yep. So until next time, keep your cigar lit, your ash long, and your palates curious.
Good night, guys.